It's the long-awaited YouTube video. Got a little pre-workout meal going here. 160 grams, 93.7 lean ground beef, 200 grams jasmine rice. It's my go-to pre-meal. Has been for a while. Works for me, great for digestion, and keeps me full and satiated when I'm going to train. I got a little push day today. I'm just in a cruise phase right now. 300 tests C before I use GH daily. And not 300 tests daily per week. But with that said, I actually just dropped my test dose down beginning of this week down to 250. I noticed there's a little bit of aromatization action going on, and I don't really want to be dealing with that and having to deploy AIs when I'm just in a cruise phase, right? I'm not really decided on what my next blast is going to look like, so I'm just cruising for now. And I have other priorities. Okay, I'm trying to get my coaching business going, get guys on the team, and that's taken up a lot of my time. Those of you who are new here to the channel, I'm Brandon Downey. Okay, I've been on social media for the last 4 years now, predominantly through TikTok. I've been making a little bit of a surge with my Instagram, putting a bit more effort into that. I'm a lifestyle bodybuilder coach. I help men who are into bodybuilding and trying to build their best possible physique do so, whether they're natty or enhanced. Okay, I have a plethora of knowledge when it comes to pharmacology and the lifestyle bodybuilding space, nutrition, and training. I live, eat, sleep, and breathe this. Okay, I've been doing it for just over a decade now, well, maybe 9 years if I'm to equate injuries and things like that. Okay, pretty much all of 2017, I was out of the gym. Okay, because I hurt my back and I just kind of fell off. And then that's just where I've been all in ever since, man. That said, if you guys are interested in one-to-one coaching, you can DM me ready on my IG and we can have that conversation to see how I can help you out. Now, with that said, guys, just going on that note, one thing that has been crossing my mind a lot as of late as I have conversations with guys, as they're reaching out to me through my IG, is a lot of guys really just have a hard time finding themselves. They're completely lost when it comes to being rooted in who they are, finding that identity shift, and just actually have a purpose in life and drive towards something, right? I spent the majority of my 20s in that same situation. It wasn't until about 29 when things really started to click for me. Okay, when I started to see things start to manifest, come to fruition, and to where I was actually making steady progress as opposed to just stagnating. Because I spent the majority of my life in my hometown. I'm from a little town called Barrie. It's about an hour north of Toronto. And it's your typical small town nonsense, right? You're just in your little hometown friend group clique, okay, the guys you went to high school with. And once it kind of got to a point where I was outgrowing them, I was like, man, I got to get the F out of here. I'm going to be stuck here the rest of my life. And that's the sad reality for everybody in that town or any small town in North America, right? I call them lifers. And these people who are just stuck in that negative feedback loop, Ouroboros, with no imaginary thinking. They're strictly imaginative. They're realists. Like any possibility outside of the confines of their environment is non-existent. They just won't believe it. They refuse to believe it, right? And then that's just where I kind of broke through the reins and said to myself, like, if I don't actually fix my mindset, actually push myself to grow and out of my comfort zone, I'll be stuck here the rest of my life. Just doing some BS job, whether it be blue collar, retail sales. It just wasn't for me. Okay, I want to make an impact and I want to scale my coaching team to as big as it can possibly be with Be Down Fitness Coaching. And that's just where my whole mentality comes from. You just got to be down to get after it and take a blunt force effort and go all in on whatever it is you want in life. Be Down Fitness, it's not a play on words of my actual government name. I just thought to myself the one day, when I first started getting going, I was offering free transformation challenges to guys, trying to build some social proof, some rapport, get some client transformations. And these guys were all dropping off. I would qualify them. I was offering coaching for free and they would all fall off. 100%. I would put all the work in to build their program as if they were a paying client and they just wouldn't stick it through. And I just said to myself, I'm like, man, these guys just aren't down. Like, they're not down to make a change or actually get after it or look themselves in the mirror and think to themselves, I have a great opportunity to take a shift here, okay, pivot within my life. And they just continue to cope. And that's where I just thought of the name for my coaching. You have to be down to be involved within this network, which is my one-to-one coaching program. And that's the thing. I'm not one of those guys who goes into my coaching business with this mindset that I'm not going to hold your hand or that I'm not a babysitter. I'm in your corner, man. Like we're in an MMA fight or a boxing match, right? I'm coaching you in every aspect. I'm right there. You can message me anytime. I respond as quick as I can, usually within 10 minutes, unless I'm away from my phone for whatever reason, which is a rarity. Some guys, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I really don't know how to lay it out. And it's sad, man, because most guys really are just weak. They'll never be able to break past that ceiling that they put over their head. Circling back to what I said about my hometown, that's how all my old friends are, who I outgrew, my family, everybody. I'd really hate to put this so bluntly and sound so apathetic when I say it. They're meaningless to me. They mean nothing. If you're not contributing to my personal and professional growth, or you're not willing to seek that within yourself, you hold no value in my life. And then that's where you need to look within yourself and reevaluate to really comprehend what's at stake, because we're all going to die, man. Not to get off on some tangent here and go on some like crazy tirade, but it's true. There's no sense of urgency amongst most men. And that's why I'm so deliberate, and that's why I stand with so much conviction on how I preach my message and how I convey myself on social media. If you're on board and you're actually putting a full force effort into improving yourself, I'll be your biggest supporter, man, and vice versa. With that said, we're gonna get into a push day. I figured I'd just give that little ramble because I spend a lot of time in my stories trying to hit home on that message. And I know it resonates with guys because they reach out and ask me questions about it. Right? It all boils down to you, man. You're your own worst enemy. You got to start putting the systems in place to develop the habits, to break out of your bad habits, or you're going to be fucked and stuck for the rest of your life. I'm going to get this down. I need to get some more EAAs. I might actually do that on my way to the gym, and then we'll get after it, man. I'll walk you through a little push day. We'll have a little bit more discourse, and we'll leave it at that. See you soon. All right, we're dialed in, made it to the gym. Sorry I couldn't take you guys to the sup store. I know I said I was going to re-up on some of my supplements. It's a tricky situation. I can't film content in some supplement stores. It's not something I'm really willing to speak on right now, but you guys know the gist of that. I'm sure 90% of you, 99% of you watching this, go into a supplement store to buy shit, right? So we're going to get dialed in for this push day. Usually with a warm-up, I'm hitting 5 minutes max, less cardio, usually walking incline or the bike. And then I get into just opening up my joints, decompressing the spine, which I'll show you in a sec. Usually it's just dead hangs, opening up the lower back, a little bit of foam rolling, things of that nature. Because for the amount of time I've been doing this, and the injuries I've had, I don't play around with warm-up, man. I take like at least a good 15 minutes just to get loosened up, especially when you're under load. And then also too, like I said, in a cruise phase, I'm not playing around with that. Okay? So you got to make sure you're warm and 100% ready to perform. I say the same thing with my guys too. Like, don't be just going in, meathead, winging weight around. Okay? Especially for those of us who are into our 30s and 40s. There's no point in throwing yourself out because it's just going to take you out of the gym longer. When all it takes is just a bit of due diligence, man. Have some self-preservation. Chest days, push days. That's what I'm doing right now. I like to just get everything flowing to the top. Usually I'll hit a bit of resistance band work, get a bit of blood flowing up in there. And then after the dead hangs, that's when I'll get over to the cable. Just do a bit of tricep work, a bit more lat and rear delt work. My main focus is just getting the joints loosened up, mainly the rotator cuff, because that's not something you want to screw around with either. The main reason I blew my rotator cuff out last year was because I neglected warm-up, right? I didn't do my usual warm-up sets, got in, just started hitting incline dumbbell right away. And this was when I was coming to the end of my last cycle last year. Went to hit incline dumbbell, I was on my feeder set, come down, and I just felt a crackle right through here. It didn't feel painful at first, and I go to hit my next freaking movement. I couldn't push the weight. I was jacked up. Injuries suck. Like, they're extremely depressing when you're a friggin' lifestyle bodybuilder and you want to come in here and you want to train. Okay? Training's key, bro. You can't train, then what the else are you gonna do? Sit at home and sulk or spend all that time just rehabbing? Not fun. Speaking of rotator cuff, this guy right here, the resistance band, it's your best friend, okay? These pull-throughs or pull-aparts, one of my favorites. I'll kind of do a mix of these. The arm circles, just coming around, opening everything up. It just makes you feel real good. When you get under the bench, under the dumbbells, or any pressing movement for that matter, you're 100% dialed and ready to go. All right, that should be good. We'll take you into the dead hangs next. All right, we're locked in. Get the blood flowing, get the tadalafil kicking. Pre-workout, I'll usually hit 5 milligrams of Cialis, and then a stim pre. Again, that's all pending on how I feel. Yeah, if I'm really bagged and I need to train, I'll usually hit anywhere from 150 milligrams to 200 milligrams of caffeine. But more often than not, if I'm training later in the day like today, I try to go as little to no caffeine as possible. At dead hangs, I'll usually hit that for about 30-second holds. And then I'll just do a couple of lower back movements here just to open everything up. Fun fact, man, when I was telling you that I injured myself back in 2017, I was out of the gym for a year. This exact warm-up with the dead hangs, loosening up the lower back, I actually got this from Athlete Next, Jeff Cavalier. I know you guys know who that is. And I swear, man, just by sticking by this protocol, when I found it, it legit healed my back, man. Way faster than any physio did. Excruciating sciatica. I could barely train, I could barely do anything, let alone stand. Just getting back into the gym, doing these types of prehab movements, I was good to go within like 6 months. Pretty straightforward. Dead hangs, then I'll swing on the bar a little bit, loosen up the back a bit more. I'll do some body weight shrugs. Then I just do these hinges to loosen up the lower back, just up against the post. Every single session without fail, I'm hitting this. Bit of foam rolling too. Then I get into the actual warm-up and targeting the specific joints, warm-up movements I want to hit for said session. Yeah, next up, I just get into some light cable work. Get into priming the joints up, do a bit of elbow work, triceps, things of that nature. I don't know what it is, but like the second I turned 33, my body just decided that it was time to start riddling itself with tendonitis. So thankfully we have BPC 157 to get that under control. Coming in here, I just like to loosen up the elbows a bit. You don't feel as brittle or as much like glass when you're getting under load, right? Don't want to mess around with that. Just come in here, bit of primer work. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this do the same. Like I say, the majority of you guys watching this are in and around my age, right? You're between the ages of 34 and 44, so we don't play around with that. Just come in here, do a bit of prime work, triceps. And then usually once I get the triceps warm, that's when, again, I'm just doing some more single arm pull throughs or single arm rear flies. And I'm coming down through the hip. And that just opens up the rear delt, a little bit of the lat. Because believe it or not, you're engaging your lats when you're pressing. I don't know what it is. Anytime I try to set up my phone to shoot long form, the second I turn my phone horizontal, freaking 90 other days where I'm coming in here and shooting short form, no issues. But the second I try to shoot long form content, that's when there's that one guy who's just not having it. And he's trying to start problems with me. Okay, hovering around, standing in front of my camera. It is what it is, right? But luckily I'm grateful that my gym's very content friendly. There's like 4 other people in here right now with a tripod shooting some content, so it's all good. We're getting after it. This right here is why you guys need to invest into a good gym. I don't know if you have this Cybex set up at your gym, but this right here is absolutely peak for doing chest flies. I don't know if you can see that. You're gonna see it in a second. But yeah, that stability anchor built into the crossover, it's perfect, man. You don't need to wheel the bench over. You can actually hit standing with stability and get a solid pull on it. So we don't even need to go anywhere. We're going right here for the first movement. So yeah, lately I've been starting off with flies, getting that set up. I'll usually hit, like since it's a push session, I'll usually hit 3 sets on a lot of my more accessory-based work, so like cables and whatnot, triceps, and then usually for my heavy pressing, I'll do 2 sets with my proper warm-ups through those progressions. I don't think I'm gonna go through those on the actual video because that'll take forever. But with that said, that's just kind of give you an idea of how I block this up. Usually what I like to do, hit my flies first, because it's a very low barrier movement. Get in there, I don't really have to get too crazy with the warm-up. 1, maybe 2 warm-up sets, and then get into it, as opposed to where my pressing movements, I'm hitting a warm-up and then going through progressions to where I'm actually getting into a feeder set, okay? Where I'm like 10, 20% below my working weight, and then I'm hitting that for like a couple sets just to get myself in tune, get myself stimulated, activate neural drive. I'm not trying to get all science-based on you guys, but there's a method to this, man. So yeah, I just come through. No high to low, no low to high. Just straight lateral, coming through. Yeah, I actually like this standing with the stability on the back more than seated, because I feel like I actually get more stability doing this. So when I'm coming through, I feel like I'm not really rocking with it too much. I can actually dig into the back support and drive through. I just get a better contraction. Plus, sometimes when I'm in a seat, I find myself hunching over just to stack over my pelvis. This here, I'm fully braced up on one plane. Should be good to get into it. Gotta get right into my working sets. One thing I need to do more of though is body work. Yeah, like especially my upper back, my rhomboids, it ain't no joke, man. Personally, just like doing maintenance runs of the BPC. Works for me, doesn't really give me any issues. I've tried the Kratom, but I don't know what it is. It makes me feel kind of foggy, you know? It just doesn't work for me. It's great for inflammation. I feel like the cognitive side effects of it just gives me so much brain fog. I don't like the feeling of it. I'm a high energy guy. When I take Kratom, it feels like I'm taking high dose GABA. For example, if you start too high of a dose of GH as opposed to titrating up when you're intolerant to it, it's that feeling. I'm freaking constantly exhausted, even when you're sleeping, right? So some guys will take the CBD or the THC to offset inflammation, just loosen up. Again, I don't like anything that makes me feel like I'm freaking going 5 under the speed limit. That's just not who I am, man. Also too, I don't know if you guys can relate to this. As I get older, THC is a no-go for me now, man. I used to get into that all kinds when I was younger. But now, I haven't had any THC in about 4 years, a little over. Even when I have the occasional little smoke or whatever, I felt like a mess. Couldn't chill out on it. Regardless of the strand, regardless of the type, no way, man. It would always make me feel freaking way too worked up. I'd be sitting at home, and then I just wouldn't know what to do with myself, you know what I mean? Running around like Pinhead Larry. Not stretching back too far, just enough to where I feel it, then I can really squeeze through. Let's get into the next movement. So like I was saying, my warm-up progressions for these heavier compounds, yeah, they're pretty complex, so I'm not gonna walk you through this whole thing. I'll bore you to death. Usually with my heavier movements, I'll do a light warm-up set with a plate, maybe do one more warm-up set with 25s, then I get into a feeder set, and then I get into my top sets. And that can vary from time to time. There's no really strict form when it comes to warm-ups. It's all been dependent on how I feel. Usually when I get to my feeder set, when I'm in my current phase right now, whether it be a health phase or a cruise, this is pretty much the deciding point. Whether I feel good enough to up the weight, or I'm sticking with this as my working weight. Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge advocate of not letting off the gas and keeping intensity up, regardless of whether you're in a blast or a cruise. There's context to that, right? Obviously, you're not going into a cruise training like you would on a blast. You want to preserve your health, your foundational health, your structural integrity, and not injure yourself. Here, the feeder set's the sticking point. I'll hit maybe 4 to 6 reps of this, gauge how I feel. And if I feel that I need to move up, I'll up the weight a little bit. And if not, I'll just stick with this as my working weight and just hit higher rep range. Feeling half decent. I've been hovering around the 3 plate range, so in between 2 1/4 and then 3. But we'll see how this feels. Usually hit this for about 8 reps, I'll top out. A 15-degree incline with a narrower grip. I recommend you try it. This here, I'm probably going about a 2 to 3 RIR. I know you'll hear some guys in the space saying reps and reserve is BS. It's to each their own. Like I say, when I'm in a health phase, I'm not busting my ass going right to failure every set because it's not necessary. When I look at cruising and bridging, it's just about sustaining and maintaining what you got going on to lay the foundation to get into a push to where you're able to go all out, utilize what you're doing, and actually push for size. If you're constantly redlining year round, especially with your training, it's not sustainable, man. You're gonna bottleneck at some point and you're gonna get hurt. It's happened to me way too many times. More often than not, the guys who are telling you that RIR is BS are guys who are probably coaches and have let off the gas themselves in their bodybuilding career. Mostly just coaching from the sidelines, right? And not actually in the mix. Or even if they are still training with intensity, they're doing the same thing that I'm preaching to you right now. They just don't realize it. They're just on freaking pandering on social. It's all said and done. It's about finding that happy medium of not letting off the gas, not redlining when you absolutely don't have to. Let's get into the ladder here. My sessions lately, 10, 12 sets max I've been averaging. Just try to train as hard as I can. Well, like I said, not letting off the gas, while also not redlining and putting myself back as opposed to putting myself further ahead. Okay, you gotta stabilize the push for size. This here ain't going too heavy. Close grip French press. I actually love this machine, man. Yeah, it's so ergonomic. Like you get the filthiest pump from this guy. Let's go do a little pump check. Yeah, not bad. This is the best look I've ever held coming down to baseline. I said earlier in the vid, I dropped down to 250 this week just to mitigate E2 a little bit. But holy geez, like you'd be surprised on how far you can go by just understanding nutrition, okay, mitigating your macros, carb timing, and then training. Okay? That's why I reiterate this so much in my blueprint to not lean on the gear, man. And that's why so many guys just look ridiculous. Okay? They may look crazy while they're on blast, but then they come off and they just flatten out, right? They can't hold their look. It's like, look at how I'm looking right now. I'm almost tempted to just jump into a prep just to see where I stand, man. I'm super impressed with where I'm sitting right now. I'm holding relatively lean. Objectively, I'd say I'm about 16, 17%. Okay, if I were to be conservative about it. Angle's a bit chopped, but let's see how the legs are looking. The twigs, yeah, not bad. Yeah, one of my main goals is just to bring up my calves. That's my weak point. The hold size in the legs pretty decent for where I'm at. Other thing I'm grateful for too, I don't really see too many other coaches actually getting active like this with long form content or even content like this in the gym. Right? A lot of them don't really get too active with the mic dubs, right? That's one thing I'm grateful for, is actually getting my foot in the door with regards to being comfortable on camera and showing my personality and not being scared to set up anywhere, anytime, right? I couldn't give a care less, man. Yeah, that's it, guys. If you tuned into the video, if you're tuned into any of my content, I'm super grateful for your support. Again, just seeing my YouTube jump up a good 20 subscribers in the last couple of weeks, I'm super grateful for that. I can't thank you enough. If you are interested in one-to-one coaching, you already know, man, just DM me the word ready, or you can DM me I'm in on IG, and I'm more than happy to see how I can help you out and have that conversation. So be sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and follow me on IG at Brandon.Downey. And I guess you can do TikTok too. I'm not as active on there, but it's the same username as IG. BDF out.